Welcome back to the Aviation Podcast. I'm Ken, and I have a couple of neat stories for you today. Let's get into it. First one on the list, we have, some of you may have heard of this person. This is Mr. Trent Palmer, somebody who frequents the YouTubes. Well, apparently, this out of an article from avweb.com, the NTSB denies Trent Palmer's certificate suspension appeal. Apparently, there was a low pass of a neighbor's house, and there was a 120-day suspension that was reduced to a 60-day suspension that now looks like is going to remain a 120-day suspension. But let's read on. The NTSB has denied an appeal filed by pilot and YouTuber Trent Palmer related to a suspension of his private pilot certificate. As previously reported in AvWeb, the suspension arose from a flight on November 24, 2019, when Palmer conducted a low inspection pass in preparation for a possible landing at a private airstrip used primarily for remote-controlled airplanes. On a friend's property. A neighbor filed a complaint with the FAA stating that the aircraft flew dangerously close to himself, his family, and several structures on his property, and provided the agency with security camera footage to back up this claim. That low pass of the tower, I think, was maybe one too many for Mr. Palmer. Let's read on here. It says here that Palmer's appeal was denied in its entirety on March 30th, not that long ago, of 2023. Following the initial decision, he expressed concerns that the ruling would set a precedent that conducting an inspection pass would require a pilot to land in the intended spot for it not to be a violation, and there was a chance that they had flown within 500 feet of a vehicle, vessel, person, or structure. In this appeal ruling, the NTSB disagreed with that interpretation, stating that the respondent, Mr. Palmer, persists that the law judge misinterpreted 91.119 and finding that a low inspection pass is not necessary for an off-airport landing, but the law judge did not issue such a finding. Rather, the law judge determined the respondent did not prove the affirmative defense that he met the prefatory clause, that his low inspection pass was necessary for landing during the November 24th flight. And here, continuing on, it says, in response to the appeal from the FAA, the NTSB found that the judge erred in reducing the respondent's sanction from 120-day suspension to a 60-day suspension and reinstated the 120-day suspension. So, unfortunately for Mr. Palmer, Mr. Trent Palmer, and I think he's on YouTube. Maybe some of you watching this have seen this person. It looks like the suspension will continue. All right, let's go ahead and move on. I seen that pop up. I thought that'd be of interest to some of you who probably are aware of Mr. Trent Palmer, probably seen his videos. I have seen his videos. Yes, I have seen. I haven't seen all of them. And I was unaware of this particular incident until recently, so it has been an interesting read, to say the least. All right, we're going to move on to some airline news. Now, this comes out of CNN Travel. We're over at CNN.com. Hundreds of Southwest airline flights are delayed after FAA lifts a nationwide ground stop. Now, this title... Initially, I was thinking something else entirely, that this was a ground stop for airlines across the country or maybe in a region. No, this was just for Southwest Airlines. They themselves asked the FAA to spread the word and stop all the aircraft. So let's take a look at the article real quick. It says here that hundreds of Southwest airline flights were delayed after technical issues that prompted the airline to temporarily halt its operations on Tuesday morning. Southwest said the flight delays were the result of data connection issues resulting from a firewall failure. A problem that led to a brief ground stop. The Federal Aviation Administration initiated the ground stop at the airline's request, citing equipment issues. The ground stop was soon lifted, and in a tweet at 11:35 a.m. Eastern Time, Southwest said it had resumed operations because apparently tweets are the way we communicate with our customers and the rest of the national airspace these days. It says early this morning, a vendor-supplied firewall went down and connection to some operational data was unexpectedly lost. The spokesman had said there. Essentially, what happened, for this incident, Southwest delayed 1,820 flights, or 43% of its scheduled flights as of just the afternoon of Tuesday, according to FlightAware. The airline has canceled only 9 flights on this Tuesday, according to FlightAware. Southwest says its workers worked quickly to minimize disruptions. So a firewall, third-party firewall went down, and Southwest had to temporarily ground 43% of the flights expected. Yikes. Well, I can only hope that this issue has been resolved and we will not see any more firewalls being taken down for Southwest. I'm glad they got it back up and running. Good. All right. Another article showed up recently that I did want to touch base on. Now, typically we want to have some pretty good news in here, but occasionally we have some news that just makes you question why. What's going on, and how can we resolve this issue? Over here at warbirdsnews.com, that is warbirdsnews.com, we have a article here which the title says, Airline History Museum is threatened with closure in Kansas City. Now, I got this picture here of a Lockheed Constellation, an old Connie sitting in the hangar. Let's read on here. It says, here in Kansas City, the Airline History Museum, formerly Save a Connie, has been locked out of its hangar facilities at Charles B. Wheeler Downtown Airport since last fall. Signature Aviation. Oh, I've heard of them. The FBO, or fixed-based operator at the airport, believes it has control over the facility despite a 2005 master lease agreement with the city of Kansas City, Missouri, guaranteeing the museum use of Hangar 9 through 2035. However, a district court ruled against the museum in a case filed last year. AHM believes the court ruled in error and is currently appealing. This case should come before the Missouri Court of Appeals later this spring. Signature Aviation is owned by Blackstone Incorporated, an immense investment firm which owns FBOs around the world. Yes, that's right. Vintage Aviation News has reached out to Signature Aviation and requested a comment on this issue. It says here that we fully expect to win the appeal, says the Airline History Museum President John Roper. Ultimately, the City Council of Kansas City has jurisdiction over the downtown airport and use of all the land it comprises. AHM asked the City Council to honor its 2005 master lease agreement and is asking people to write to their council representative and Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas to express their concern regarding the possibility of losing this iconic local treasure. More information is available. Kansas City being, or at least once was a home once was the home of TWA, Trans World Airlines. If you've ever heard of them, then you're as old as I am. And TWA, they have this aircraft here, this old Constellation sitting in this hangar, and it looks like, and down here at the end of the article was the worst part of this whole article. The worst part is down here at the bottom. It says here that unfortunately, due to the present dispute between Signature Aviation, this unique collection of classic aircraft and aviation memorabilia has been left unattended in Hangar 9 since July of 2022. Padlocks are on the doors at the direction of Signature Aviation, and the caretaking of this priceless collection is no longer possible due to the lockout. To which we ask, why? Come on, Signature Aviation, let's work together. Let's do something here. Kansas City City Council, let's do something here. Let's not let these beautiful aircraft sit in that hangar going to waste. No one is able to see them or experience the memorabilia. No one's able to walk through the hangar. I mean, this is pretty awesome stuff. And yet, we've got a padlock on the door over a lease agreement dispute. Well, that is a shame, and we hope that the folks of Kansas City are able to come to an agreement and allow folks to experience what this Hangar 9 has to offer. All right, heading over to our last article of today. We're over here at simpleflying.com. Now, this one, it just made me laugh. The article reads, seized Russian AN-124, the Antonov 124 aircraft. It's a pretty big aircraft. Apparently, there's one that is stuck in Canada and could be given to Ukraine. Let's see here. Let's read into this just a little bit. It says here, the story began with a Volga Dnepr Antonov, and I apologize, I probably am butchering the name here, AN-124 freighter that had found itself stuck at Toronto Pearson International Airport. That's YYZ up in Canada. Shut its skies to Russian aircraft on February 27th. Unable to fly out before the deadline, the plane began accruing parking charges of $1,650 a day. Yikes. I wouldn't want that tie-down fee. Meaning that this aircraft now owes $683,000 for its overstay. Definitely not a tie-down fee I would want to pay. The aircraft was formally seized by the Canadian authorities in response to the invasion. Now, after meetings in Toronto last week, Canada and Ukraine agreed to a new aid package which will include the transfer of the Ukrainian-built AN-124. Kind of funny how the aircraft was grounded because it was under a Russian registration, although it was in fact a Ukrainian-built aircraft that is now going back to Ukraine for aid. Just a wild story all around. This was announced in a statement by the Ukrainian Prime Minister. I am going to mess this name up. I'll just say the Ukrainian Prime Minister. That'd be the best way for that. Which came as part of a broader deal including fresh sanctions, a free trade deal, and much more. So it looks like one of these, and these Antonov 124 aircraft, if you don't know what they are, if you haven't seen the specs on this aircraft, it is a very, very large aircraft. In fact, if you look up some information, here's just a little bit from Wikipedia, what information they have available. There hasn't been many of these aircraft. Only 55 were ever built, and there's only 26 of them in commercial use. Well, maybe 25 if you don't include the one that's stuck in Canada right now. So there's not many of these aircraft left, and it's just interesting to see that it's being tossed around country to country because it is a freighter aircraft. And what are you going to do with a freighter aircraft but use it to move freight? That's the point. Wild stories indeed. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, share with a friend, leave a comment, and until next time, take care.